Hello and welcome to another edition of the Book Swap. I'm here with my friend Tati Simone, and today we are going to be talking about Darren Coleman's Before I Let Go. This is a book that I chose for Book Swap because it was my turn, and I picked this book because I was looking for another male equivalent to Waiting to Exhale. Y'all know we did an attempt before, and that didn't go how we expected it to go.
So we have another claim that we could review it and to see if it really is what they say it is.
This is going to be my last time looking for a male equivalent. We're going to find out why. I gotta tell y'all how we got this. Our very first book swap was Men Cry in the Dark, claimed to be a male equivalent to Waiting to Exhale. It didn't meet expectation. Then we read Waiting to Exhale. We discovered how amazing of a book that was. I was scrolling on Barnes & Noble actually, just looking for books in the black section, and I see this book right here. What caught my eye was the cover. I love that cover. That is an amazing cover. And so I was like, well, this looks interesting. And then as I'm reading the cover, I see on it, this is Waiting to Exhale of the 2000s. So I'm like, hey, Tati, guess what I found? And that's how we got here. So before we get started, I do want to give y'all some warnings. First is the spoiler warning, just to let you know we are talking all about this plot in this book. We got a lot to say on this. I mean, if you don't want to be spoiled, thanks for tuning up to this point, but feel free to go ahead and click off this video here. And if you decide you want to come back and see what we talked about after you get done reading the book, feel free. With that being said, let's get into this video. Today is July 8th. I've started reading Before I Let Go by Darren Coleman. I can say we're off to a much better start than we were with Men Cry in the Dark. We have three guys, Corey, Brendan, and Nate, and we've got their perspectives. We've got all three of their perspectives within the first 5 chapters of the book. So we don't gotta wait till like we about halfway through the book. Corey, he's, just gone through a very bad breakup with his girlfriend, and now he's sleeping with somebody else's wife. Because, he hurt, so now he just don't care. We got Brendan. He's also just gone through a very bad breakup and had him a little Bernadine moment.
Yeah, I was your white woman for 11 years.
He's really not very good with women. He's a little self-conscious about his weight. And we have Nate, who is a straight up just womanizer. He's very conceited, very into himself. Just from reading like the introductory paragraphs, it seems like Nate is the author's favorite because you can tell just by the way the chapters are written. It's seeming like Nate is the favorite and Brendan is the least favorite. But I'm hopeful that this book goes well because I caught a glimpse of the title of a review and it said this was not the author's best work. And so that made me nervous. I'm like, don't say that. Don't say that because we need a win. We need a win after Men Cry in the Dark because this is our second chance at finding a male equivalent to Waiting to Exhale. And I need this to win not only because this is our second attempt, but also because I really like this cover. And I love the cover to the sequel book. And I really want to like this book because I want to get the sequel book because I love that cover. That cover looks so good. So I'm really hopeful that this book is not a flop. I hope it's not a fail, because I need this book to win. So today is July 23rd. I am about a third of the way through Before I Let Go. So far, it's a 4 right now. I am enjoying it. I can definitely say I stand by what I said last time, that the author definitely has a favorite, and the favorite is Nate. I am enjoying the book for the most part. I do like how the book is mostly told from the men's perspectives. Sometimes we do get some of the women, they'll get maybe half a page within the sections. The book is for the most part told from the perspectives of Corey, Brendan, and Nate, and I really appreciate that because that's really who we're reading this book for. I do have one small complaint, which is why it's not at a 5-star rating. This book does a lot of summarizing scenes instead of letting us actually see the actual scene. They'll be having a conversation, and instead of just giving us the conversation, we'll get a summary of the conversation. I don't want a summary of the conversation. I want the actual conversation. Just give me the actual conversation. That is my one gripe so far with this book, but I am enjoying it. Today is July 28th. I am on chapter 14 of 32, so I'm almost halfway through the book. And you know how I said in the Waiting to Exhale video that Waiting to Exhale was like the big sister to Men Cry in the Dark, and Men Cry in the Dark was the little brother riding the big sister's coattails? Well, Before I Let Go is like the little brother to both of those books. That's like more talented and more gifted than their older sibling, but still looks up to their older siblings, so tries not to embarrass them too much and tries not to show them up too much because they still look up to and respect their older sibling. That's what Before I Let Go is. Before I Let Go is better characterized than Men Cry in the Dark. Its writing is more interesting than Men Cry in the Dark, but Men Cry in the Dark is better written technically. It's written in third person as opposed to Before I Let Go, which is written in third and first person. Like Brendan and Nate are written in third person, but Corey is written in first person. And story wise, it's slightly better only because it's slightly more interesting, but they're kind of like in the same space where it's like I'm almost halfway through this book and I'm still kind of waiting on it to actually like do something. Like it's kind of like I can clearly see what the storylines are. I can clearly see what he's going for. I can clearly see what he's trying to do. But for some reason, it's like he just won't do it. It's like he won't pull it forth and go ahead and get on with it. And the one thing I want to see in this book, I need to see Nate, Brendan, and Corey get into it because Nate keeps ruining and messing up their chances with women. Almost every situation, aside from a few relating to Corey, when it comes to the women, their chances have almost always been messed up because of something Nate did. Nate and his actions really be messing up Brendan and Corey's game when it comes to women. And I need them to have like a fallout on page about this because, sir, like that would be great character development for Nate. He's having some slight character development. I'd say out of all three guys, he's having the best character development so far, but like it's not like super strong character development. It's like he's falling for Celine and like he's in uncharted territory because he's actually interested in a girl past like the first get together. And like we also find out that his grandmother is pretty much the only woman that he respects. And like we also find out that him and Corey fell out previously because Corey felt bad for the girls that Nate kept dogging out, and Nate didn't like that he felt bad. So it's like that's one of my issues with this book. It's like we find out everything in like summarization. We don't actually see it happen on page. It's like it's summarized first, and I'm like, no, just let me see it happen on page. So far, I'm still willing to give this book a 4 because I am enjoying it. It's more enjoyable than Men Cry in the Dark. It's more comprehensive than Men Cry in the Dark. Like plot is happening, stuff is happening. It's just like it's not happening to the extent that it could be. Whereas Men Cry in the Dark was literally just this the whole time. Like it never went nowhere. Men Cry in the Dark never went nowhere. Before I Let Go is at least going somewhere, but it's not going in the best possible way that it could be. Like it could be going so much better and so much smoother than it is, but it's not. But at least it's going somewhere. Even if it is just down the street. I'm back because I have more to say. Because I'm just sitting here thinking about it, and I'm like, what do we really know about these guys? This is supposed to be a male equivalent to Waiting to Exhale. That's why we're reading this, right? So when you stack it up against Waiting to Exhale, halfway through Waiting to Exhale, we already knew so much about the women. We knew so much about them. We pretty much knew pretty much everything we needed to know about them. And we were just going along with them through their stories. I'm almost halfway through Before I Let Go. What do we really know about these men? With Men Cry in the Dark, when we was halfway through, even though the perspectives were uneven, we still, for the most part, knew everything we were supposed to know about the guys by about halfway through. But Before I Let Go, for all of its positives, like being better written, better characterized, and more interesting, we still don't know nothing really about Brendan, Corey, and Nate. It's like you kind of have to piece together what we already do know. And it's like, because the book just won't come out and say it, or like it'll say it, but it'll only be like one sentence. It won't give like any more detail beyond that one sentence. And I'm like, no, we need more than that. Once again, going to Wait and Exhale, We knew so much about the women. We knew about their ambitions, their goals, what they wanted, and even in their relationships. Even with all the men they cycled through in that book. Yes, the men, for the most part, did not matter, but what the women took away and learned from those relationships did matter. And like they learned something from every relationship that they were in. Men Cry in the Dark, they had their relationships for the most part set in stone. Like the girls that they were with were pretty much the girls that they were with for the whole book. And it's like, yeah, the relationships were a hot mess and boring, but at least the relationships made sense for the characters. We understood. I can't say they really learned nothing, but we still got stuff from it a little bit. Before I let go, we have been introduced to a lot of women in this book, and just like in Waiting to Exhale, the women in this book really don't matter. But the men are not taking really anything away from a lot of these relationships. I think the only relationships that they really take away stuff from, like for Corey, it's Shelly because she cheated on him, and that was like that's who he was like in love with for a long time. With Brendan, it's Trina because she also cheated on him. But it's like what they take away is differently. Corey takes away that he can't trust women in general anymore, and so because he can't trust women in general anymore, he's going to punish every other woman he's with because of what Shelly did, as opposed to Brendan, who he realizes he can't trust Trina no more, and he can't punish every other woman because of what Trina did. And so he just has to find somebody who's more compatible with him, which, by the way, is going to end up being Renee. Just like with Corey, it's obvious at some point he's going to end up with Nina, who is Shelly's sister, and Nate is clearly feeling Celine. But he's still playing again. He's not ready to commit to Celine, but he's very clearly feeling her. And what's probably going to happen is he's going to realize too late that Celine is who he wants, and it's going to be too late. And so he's going to have to reform his ways. Or something. Something's going to happen. I'm not even going to lie. I low-key read part of the summary for the second book. That's why I know he reforms his ways, to my knowledge. So that has been a little bit spoiled. That's why I said that. But let's be real. Those are the only relationships that are supposed to matter in this book. Selena India for Nate. Nina for Corey, and Renee for Brendan. And even if we do have other women during this time, these other women, we could at least be learning something from these relationships with these other women. But it's like they're just there just to be there. Like they're not providing nothing. They're not servicing nothing to the story. They're not giving nothing. It's just like they're just there to give us a little hot scene real quick. And it's not even really a hot scene because it's more like a summarization of what's going on than actual description. I really want this book to win, and it still has time to come back and win. So I'm not gonna give it flack yet. But the relationships in this book don't really matter, and the ones that should matter, we barely getting. A lot of the women in this book don't matter, and they're not bringing nothing. So why not just focus on the relationships that are actually supposed to matter, and we as the reader know are going to end up being the main relationships of this story? Like Brendan should be getting with Renee. He's already made his peace with not being with Trina and not going back to her. He's already done the going back to her and realizing that things are not going to be the same, so he's let her go. He's already gone through all of that. So he's had some character development in that aspect. But it's like, okay, he's moved on from Trina, so let's get to Renee. Why do we even need to go through Lane? What is Lane going to bring? We didn't even meet Lane. We found out about Lane after the fact. We didn't even get her actual introduction. Her introduction came after he had already met her the previous night at the party, which we were with him at the party in the scene. So why didn't we just see him in the scene meeting Lane? That's what I mean. Him meeting Lane does not matter. Him and Renee have actual scenes and chemistry together, but instead of just getting on to him, just slowly falling for Renee, what do we got to deal with Lane for? Same with Corey. He's like, I'm on a mission to be a dog now because... And we don't even see Corey going on that mission to be a dog. It's like he was with Paula, but he left. And Paula said, if you leave, don't even bother coming back. And he's like, well, he gonna do him. So now we get Nina, who he don't want to date because that's Shelly's sister. And it's like, go ahead. And so in the meantime, he has Jay, but Nate has messed things up for him and Jay by sleeping with Jay. So why not just go? And it's like he goes on a date with Nina, but we don't get to see the date. We don't get to see the date. So it's like he's off of, so he started a relationship with Nina, but we as the reader are not getting to see him start the relationship with Nina. And then on top of that, now we got Heather in the picture. So now we got Heather in the picture. Why? Why? And Nate, I'm not even gonna get on Nate because he got about 50, 11 women going on, but it's very clear that he wants to be with Celine. We got all these nonsense relationships that are bringing nothing to the story when we could just be focusing on the relationships that the men are obviously at some point in the story going to get into. So why not just go ahead and focus on the relationships? Give us where the story is obviously heading. Give me the story that I can very clearly see is going to happen. Just go ahead and start. Stop playing. So today is July 29th. I'm on, I think, chapter 17 right now. I want to start this off by saying that the book literally picked up in chapter 14. So literally right after I got done doing all that ranting, the book picked up with the storylines. So, but with that being said, I was right about Lainey. Lainey was basically in and out just like that in 2 chapters. Like, she provided nothing to the story. Literally nothing. In and out. And the way she was out was just whatever. So now Brendan is on his way to trying to get with Renee, right? I'm assuming that's the direction we're going in. But I had to come talk real quick because after Brendan dropped Lainey, he went home, and Renee, of course, got her girlfriends over, and this man, Darren Coleman, the author, has ripped off the scene from Waiting to Exhale, the party scene. The scene he ripped off is the movie scene, but it's hilarious because they're having girl talk, and it's hilarious to have this scene having read Waiting to Exhale and being able to compare it to the Waiting to Exhale scene, because the movie only kept part of the scene from the book, the part where they're talking about men, but the book, they had a whole party, a whole discussion about a whole bunch of other stuff besides men. Y'all know because y'all have probably seen the Waiting to Exhale video, hopefully. But it's hilarious to have this scene to compare it with that one because it's the prime example of how, like, women write women and how men write women. And specifically how black women write black women and how black men write black women. Because in Waiting to Exhale, like I said, they talking about all these different topics and then eventually get on to men. They don't start with men. Whereas in this book, they're on the topic of men. And it's funny because there's this one homegirl, her name is Andrea, and she is supposed to be like, Robin, right? From the movie. Now, keep in mind, Robin in the movie has a whole different backstory from Robin in the book. Robin in the movie has different motivations than Robin in the book. Robin in the movie was not as willfully ignorant, I'm going to use these words, willfully ignorant as Robin in the book, right? But it's hilarious because because I don't know if he read the book. I don't know if Darren read the book. If he did, then it makes sense why Andre is written this way. But if he's only using the movie as a reference, it is hilariously ironic. Because Andre is making this point about how it doesn't matter how much a man spends on her, she needs to have like an emotional connection with him, right? And some of the other women are like, girl, you crazy. You ain't ever turning down no man that's spending a lot of money. So she goes into this story about this man who spent all this money on her to the point that it turned her off from him because he was just spending so much money on her. And how one of his employees ended up having an emotional connection with one of his employees instead. And she made this, and of course it's making me laugh because she's supposed to be like the Robin of the group, and it matched. And like I said, I'm pretty sure he's going based off the movie, and movie Robin is different from book Robin, but it's hilarious because Andrea is sounding like book Robin, and I'm not sure if he read the book and is using like the book as well as a reference for this scene. It's just hilarious because she's talking about how, the guy that spent all this money on her is possibly a billionaire now, and the guy she had the emotional connection with was one of his employees and who was broke and working his way through college. And it just makes me laugh because it just made me think of Robin and how Michael in the book wanted to give her everything. He had money and was willing to give her everything, all her dreams. He literally checked off every box she had, except that she was not physically attracted to him. And yet she was picking these dudes that were struggling and didn't really care about her like that. And they didn't check off most of the things that she wanted, but they were physically attractive. And it just made me laugh because it just made me think of Robin. So I don't know if it's intentional or if it's just hilariously ironic, but it made me think of Robin. That's why I'm here. Well, it's July 30th. I am getting close to the end of Before I Let Go. I think I've got about like 7 chapters left. And yeah, Nate. India has finally found out about Celine, and yeah, I think it's finna go down. I think it's finna go down.
See, when you do clownery, the clown comes back to bite.
You know, we finally got into the main women that the guys were gonna be with. I take back what I said about Lainey. You know, she wasn't as insignificant as I originally said she was. You know, Brendan did learn something. He did learn a little bit. He had some character development from that relationship. So I'll give it to him. Is this on level with Waiting to Exhale? It still remains to be seen. It's good, but it's still not like pulling out its full potential. It's some moments that I have related to and stuff like that, so I'll give it that. But like those moments are very few and far between. I feel like the book is kind of playing it safe. Like it's not really reaching its full potential. It's not really delving deep. And that's why it's not really like on level with Waiting to Exhale. Granted, it's better than Men Cry in the Dark, and it comes closer to being on level than Men Cry in the Dark did, but it's still not delving as deep as it could be with the subject material. And also, how did all 3 of these guys become dogs? In some way, shape, or form, they have all dogged out the girls in this book one way or another. I'm in the home stretch of this book on July 30th. The stuff that hit the fan. Nina is pregnant, allegedly. She hasn't done nothing to make us doubt that she's pregnant, but allegedly, that's what I'm saying, because you know how these books go. Celine and Nate are through because of what went down in New York. India and Nate are through because India found out about Celine. And Renee and Brendan. Renee done put Brendan out the house because she's mad that Brendan chose Lainey over her after it was her idea to go back to being friends until Brendan made up his mind. And so she's mad that he chose Lainey over her and slept with Lainey in the house that they share. He lives there too. Y'all are not in a relationship. You literally told him it was fine to bring girls over the house. And Renee is mad because Brendan chose Lainey over her after Renee told him that she loved him after they slipped up and slept together one night after they decided to go back to being friends. But I'm like, Renee, you can't be mad at Brendan for choosing Lainey over you. You literally told him to make up his mind about who he wanted, and he chose Lainey. So why are you mad that he chose Lainey? How you gonna put the man out the house because he didn't choose you? The drama. And then her friends gonna be like, oh, you just like Nate and Corey. I'm like, because he chose Lainey over Renee? They're not in a relationship. So how can Renee be mad that he didn't choose her when she gave him the opportunity to decide who he wanted to be with? And he chose Lainey. Look, I got about 5 chapters left, so let's see how this ends. Alright, I just finished the book. I liked it for the most part, but that ending, I'm not going to go too much into what happened because we'll get into it in the discussion. But I did enjoy the book for the most part. I don't know if I want to give it a 4 or 3.5 because that ending was terrible.
All right, let's talk about ratings. You want to hear what I rated it, or you want to go? You go with your rating first.
Okay, I'm going to give my rating first. I gave this book a 4.
A 4, okay.
Keep in mind, we read this because it was making its claim, hey, I'm a male equivalent to Waiting to Exhale. So it's already like got to prove itself against another book that didn't meet expectation, right? So I'm like, as I'm reading it, it was even more like a 3 because I was between a 3 and a 4. I was like, what would I give this? And after I thought about it, I was like, did I enjoy reading the book? Yeah, I did. So I gave it a 4, but I also gave it a 4 because if you remember, we was reading Black Girls Must Die Exhausted for book club. Remember I told you I stopped reading that book and went and read a whole other book?
This is the other book?
This was the other book.
Baby, because this book gonna give it to you.
So I was like, it was a good reading experience, especially since the other book we were supposed to be reading wasn't doing well. Now, I want to say this. We will not accept any Black Girls Must Die Exhausted slander. She did what she could. We respect what she tried to do. It just didn't work for us.
She had to do what they would let her do to get published, and we just gonna leave it at that.
All right. So what was your rating?
Now, guys, my rating was a 3. And you know what's crazy? This book was always a 3 for me, but it was like I was just trying to decide if it was going to be the higher end of a 3 or a lower end of the 3. I'm still leaving it at a 3, but see, I'm going back and forth again. I'm going back and forth with do I want it to be a high 3 or like just a plain 3? And it's because how I said, I enjoyed the book, right? I enjoyed the book. As a male equivalent of Waiting to Exhale, y'all have seen what I gave male equivalents to Waiting to Exhale. So for a male equivalent to Waiting to Exhale 2, I'm like, you're good. This is a good book. This is a book that I would read. It's solid. It's not like, oh, this is boring. This is bad or anything. Honestly, I probably would have gave it like a 3.5 or more, but there's just certain things of why I'm like, I know for sure it's a solid 3. I don't know where in the 3 range do I want to give it because I will say, I like this book. And I'm gonna tell y'all what book it reminds me of as we go through.
I agree because I was definitely, like I said, I was like 3 or 4. And in the end, I gave it a 4 because I was like, you know what? I enjoyed it. I'm going to give it a 4. We read it, and then I read it again to like refresh myself for the video. And as I'm reading through it, I'm like, this was a 3. But I was like, but you know what? I'm going to stand by my 4. I'm going to stand by my 4. Let's get into the actual stories. Let's start with the boys, Corey, Brendan, and Nate.
The book starts off with Corey, and I actually kind of really liked Corey's character in the beginning. I did. I'm like, okay, Corey, what's going on? He got his little heart broken. I thought Corey was gonna be a Nate in the book, beginning of the book. So when he didn't turn out to be like a Nate, it was like, okay, he got this weird love thing going on. I don't know what's going on with him in the beginning. He didn't become one of those, oh, I got my heart broken, so I'm gonna break everybody else's heart. He didn't become a Nate. So I'm like, okay, cool. I like Brendan. He was adorable in the beginning, as well. And I was on the fence about Nate, but I just need to see how he was. So in the beginning, Corey, of course, we see Corey, he got his heart broken, and he's holding a little secret from his friends after he got his heart broken because he moved. They're all from DC. He moves from DC. He goes and he catches up with an old friend. Now, this old friend happens to be a professor. That's already drawing some lines for me. But that's none of my business, right? But then the old friend turns out to be married. And I just, it's like, and that's why he couldn't tell his friends. Because his friends, like, when you gonna get serious again? His last girlfriend, they were together like 3 years or more, great couple, all that type of stuff. Like, when you gonna settle down again? Because you're not that type of dude. You not seeing nobody, so when you gonna see somebody? Whole time he is in a long-term relationship with his ex-teacher that's married. I said, okay. Then Brayden, he done moved in with his best friend because he didn't call his girlfriend cheating. I'm like, poor Brayden. He have a what you call it moment. What's that girl name?
Bernadine.
Come on. He have a moment. He take everything out, throw everything out that he bought. He like, now this is out of control, okay? He said he gonna be done wrong for the last time. It wasn't the last time, but that's what he said. That's how he felt in his heart. So he go to his best friend's house, to live with his best friend, they are just best friends. That's all. That's what the book says. They just best friends, even though everybody knows that he will be the best girl for him. And that kind of frustrates me a little bit because Brayden is a typical good guy, a typical self-proclaimed good guy at that, right? The typical, why do people not treat me, right? But you won't get with your best friend that everybody knows is the best choice for you. I wonder why these things keep happening. And the crazy thing is, when he talks to his best friend, gives such solid advice. Like when she was talking to him, like, cause the girl keep calling him his ex-girlfriend, Trina keep calling him. She's like, bro, hang up, don't answer. Like she gives him such good woman advice, and he just continues to just decide he want to get his heart broken. So yeah. And then Nate does a whole breakdown. And if I can compare, I wasn't really comparing them to like Waiting to Exhale characters because after a while, I just knew it just got thrown off. I'm like, this doesn't really compare to not Waiting to Exhale, but Men Cry in the Dark. But if I can compare, I don't think I can compare it to anybody actually. I'm probably thinking of a different book, but he ran down, gave us the game, and Nate gives me okay vibes. Okay. He gives me okay vibes. I'm gonna tell y'all as we go on through the story some more about how I feel.
You know how like an author has a favorite that they like to write?
Mhm.
I think that favorite was Nate.
Oh, why do you think that one was Nate?
I think Nate was the author's favorite, and I think Brendan was his least favorite. Just the way he wrote Nate. Like, Nate is supposed to be this smooth talker. He's always getting all the girls. Like, he does all these things, and there's never any consequences. He's got it all figured out. It just came off like he was the favorite. Whereas Brendan, it's like nothing ever goes right for him. And Corey was just kind of like a forgotten middle child. And the reason I say that is because Corey's perspective isn't even written like the other two. Like, Brendan and Nate, they was written in third person, and Corey was always in first person.
I would have thought Corey was a favorite person because of that, because Corey was written in first person. Nate is like this terrible type of dude that, all the guys like, he's supposed to be a likable character, but really people don't mess with him. He's not a good person. Right. And then, but Brendan is like, too much of a sucker. It's like Corey is like that in between where you get what I'm saying. I'm not too much of a dog, but I'm not letting people run over me either. I will say I started to feel like towards the middle and the end, I definitely agree. The story begins very heavily centered around Corey and what he got going on and all that drama. But as it progresses, you realize that this story, where the meat and the drama is Nate and Brendan. And more of their perspective starts coming. And I think by the middle of the story, Corey is like this, and then Brendan and Nate is like this. And even if maybe the author wrote all of them the equal amount, he might be like, well, actually, all of them have the equal number of pages, da da da. It don't feel like it. It don't feel like it. It doesn't. So when you start saying that and you start talking about it, I'm like, I kind of see it. Definitely with Corey, especially being the forgotten child, because yeah, it starts off really strong for Corey, but it really starts to mellow out.
But I will say, even though like it was coming off like that, I did like all of the guys. I'm not gonna lie. The first time I read it, I thought Brendan was the most relatable to me. They starting off with their stuff. Corey just got his heart broke by Shelly, this Puerto Rican lady who might be black. I don't know. It's not really confirmed for sure, but they show was saying the N word a lot. But okay. He thought that was his forever. Brendan had him a little Bernadine moment with Waiting to Exhale. And it's so crazy that you brought that up because I wrote that in my notes. And like, all I saw was, I was your car salesman for 2 years.
For real, baby. He was going through it.
No, like, he was like, everything I pay for is going with me. And I'm like, what you gonna do with her clothes? Like, what do y'all do with people's stuff when you say everything I paid for is going with me? What you gonna do with it?
Give it away. Salvation Army, people that they know. Yeah. You're not gonna be wearing it.
Yeah, like I said, Nate came across as like the favorite. Nate just had like 50, 11 women going on.
Where the story starts progressing is where they meet at a party. While Corey is on this trip to New York, the other two guys who are in DC, they go to this party with Braden's cousin. Okay. Now, this is a party for very fun and very happy people. Just very fun and happy people that have a lot of money. So I must kind of turn it over to Ron and let him, I guess, talk about this part.
Before they even went to the party, Nate was at the gas station waiting on them. And he met another girl, India. He describes her as like, I think he said Nia Long. I think that was India. Listen, it was so many women and so many descriptions flying around. I can't remember who was
It
who.
was Nia Long though for India.
He meets her, he's hitting on her. At first, she's like, yeah, whatever. But then she's kind of feeling it. So she's like, okay, I'm gonna give it a chance. Yeah, they get to this party. It's being thrown by this guy that Brendan's cousin Shu knows. They get up there. Corey, I don't even remember where he was. He was somewhere else. But Brendan and Nate, they get up there. Like Tati said, it's a rich people party. And I will say this. The men, they weren't broke. They weren't broke.
Mm-mm.
They weren't broke at all. So they
Mm-mm.
fit right in. They fit right
Not
in.
any one of them.
None of them was broke. I like that. I appreciate that. But what happened was, I also want to mention this before we go further. Corey went to a HBCU, so I also appreciate that. All that shouting out to the HBCUs and stuff like that. Y'all can see I got me on the HBCU shirt, but that's all right. So what happened was they get down to this party. It's a rich people party, and Nate is like, I'm gonna scope out the scene, and Brendan's like, this not really my thing. And she was like, well, Brendan, they got pool downstairs. And Brendan's like, that's my thing. So he goes downstairs to go play pool. While Nate is scoping out the scene, he talking about he's looking at all the women. And all he sees is this one cute girl, this one cute light-skinned girl that is Nigerian and French. Her name is Celine. We later find out she's a model and an actress. And, she's just it. She's just it in the party. So Nate is like, I'm not gonna approach her first. I'm gonna wait till a few guys approach her, and then I'm gonna approach her because he's like they tend to turn away the first few guys that approach. So if I wait a little bit, then I can approach. So he runs his game, goes over to her, says hi to her, says hi to her homegirl Trish. Trish is looking like, "What you doing over here? What you want?" What's going on. But Celine, and Celine not stupid either. She knows what's going on, but she's feeling Nate, so she's like, "Okay, we can give it a try." And while all that is going on, Brendan is downstairs whooping this dude named Franco. Franco is Celine's photographer. He's whooping him in pool. So Franco's like one of them dudes that just don't want to accept defeat. So he lose all his money. And as Brendan is playing pool, it's this girl named Candy that's like, I want to play you next. Flirting and stuff like that. So Franco lose all his money. He runs off. And then Candy comes over to Brendan. She's like, hey, baby, I can show you a good time, stuff like that. So they go off to have them a good time, right? Franco goes upstairs and he's like, Celine, I lost all my money. I need more money. Celine's like, I'm not giving you no money. He's like, well, it's all right because the dude that beat me, he's in a situation that he don't even really know what's going on. So Nate is like, what you mean? So once he find out what it is, Nate runs down there. He's thinking that Candy is a man. Spoiler alert, Candy is not a man at all. At all. So Nate run down there and he interrupts the good time and he ends up knocking Candy out. And I was like, sir, unnecessary.
Now, mind you, he did think she was a guy, but it was also that part because y'all Nate is dark, right? So he go in there to break up the party or whatever, and she said it was the part because I could imagine it. It was like she called him a black something. She said something, but basically was calling him like a blackie, like black. I talk about his skin. And it's like, y'all know that sound is like at that moment, he knew he messed up. That was the moment. Because Brendan was like, at that moment, he knew when she said that she was about to send Nate off. And Nate thought this was a man. So Nate was like, bet. Cause he was like, I was gonna drop it. He was just gonna get his boy, leave, let it be. But when she said that, he pop, all for it to turn out to actually be a woman. Now, ain't that crazy?
It was crazy and they took off running out the party. It was a big hot mess. But basically, remember, during this whole time, Brendan is like, dude, you messing it up for me. What you doing? Just to get out the party. They running for their lives. And they out there with a girl. Getting his Mac on. Like they ain't on the run out the party. And Brendan's like, how you gonna mess it up for me? But then I'm just supposed to sit by and let you do what you do. But this whole scene, I feel like it wasn't needed. The only thing it really brought to the story was showcasing how Nate be messing stuff up for his boys, but then expect them to not mess things up for him. That's all it showed to me.
For me, this set the scene for Nate and how he runs his game. It's like, okay, this is how he runs his game. You really got to see Nate being a playboy. You got to see Brendan, because everybody thinks it's like you see him being a sucker in real life time, like seeing how his personality is like. Because when he went in, he wasn't even trying to get with the girls. You see that part. And then also him having to like, because the whole idea of this, as well as like Nate coming to rescue Brendan because he's so gullible, like everybody having to rescue him. And something else, one of the biggest things for me was how he met Celine. Because when he met Celine, Celine was like, "You a playboy." He was like, no, I'm not really. But Celine's like already hip to the game. She's like, "Come on now. I know what type of dude you are." He thinking she not hip to it, but she actually was. So I feel like that was setting the scene for me, because I feel like I got a lot of how everybody's personality is. Same with Nate being such a hothead, because Nate is a hothead throughout the whole book, bro. He be here for what?
Yeah. Like the actual party scene, that was necessary. I just feel like that whole thing with Candy, it didn't have to go down like that.
Oh yeah, they could have did it a different way. So after that, we kind of switched back to Corey, because at the same time this is happening, Corey get back from his job and he gets a job offer. So he goes to tell the married woman, Dr. Paula, whatever. He's like, "Hey girl, I got some news for you." He like, "I know she's not gonna take it well, but I'm gonna at least tell her." Baby Paula goes off. Mind y'all, he wanna wait till after they get down, dirty, laying in bed, and then tell her he leaving. Not he thinking about it or nothing. She's like, "Oh, babe, this the last time you get any of this cookie if you leave, because you're not about to spring this upon me that you leaving in basically 2 weeks or so. Like, you about to just leave and go get to a new job." Now, the job is an amazing job. And he's like, not too many men get in this position. And where he's at in his job, y'all know, Black people, we hit the glass ceiling. He's kind of at the glass ceiling with his job. And this job is got to give him even more money. So he is about to be in a position that very few Black men are in. And like how Ronald said, these men have jobs. These men make money. Now, I don't know what Nate do. I forgot. But they actually have money. They actually work and all the other type of stuff. So Corey's like, "You know what? I'm going back to DC." She mad. They break up. And then the boys get on the phone. They talk about what happened. Corey lets them know, "Hey, I'm moving back to town." And it's all good. They end up moving back to town. Corey's job, let me tell you how good this job is. They gave him like $5,000 or something like that for moving fees, expenses. They paid for his moving, got him an apartment, like everything. He's set. So he's back in town or whatever. But something else I do want to say is another thing that he put on for, and something that we always be talking about, is the South and country people. Because even Shelly, his ex-girlfriend, she ends up dating, they call them Bama N-words or whatever, but she ends up dating somebody from Alabama or somebody from the South. And they're like, "Look at this little country brand, Bama, whatever." And so Corey's experience in the South helped him also, and kind of brought to light, it kind of shedded that idea that we see in a lot of the books of, oh, everybody in the South just country bumpkins. He's like, "No, this is a city. People have fun. They do what they do, and it's not cold." So he moves back to DC. He got to get used to it being cold and all these other type of things.
In a lot of these books we have read from the 90s and 2000s, they did try to play us. Tried to act like we was country, like we couldn't dress, we didn't know how to have fun. And it's funny because even in this book, the people, like you said, the people in DC, basically in this book, they had that same attitude, like, "Oh, they country, they can't dress." But then Corey would be like, "No, it was actually lit down there. Like, Atlanta's the fashion capital, one of the fashion capitals of the country. Like, it was fun. It was great to live in there. Like you said, it wasn't cold either. So I appreciated that. I did. Corey, he's telling his boys about kind of what went on. Like, they catching up. He's telling them he's moving to DC, right? During that conversation, Nate mentions that Corey's ex, Shelly, has a daughter, and that the daughter might be Corey's. And Corey's like, "No, that ain't my daughter. Like, she wouldn't do that. She wouldn't do me like that."
And that's been the joke for forever. Right when they broke up, she got with somebody else and they had the baby. It's been such a running joke that when it first happened, he went to Shelly, he was like, "Come on, is this my baby?" And Shelly was like, "No, that's not your baby, okay?" It's something that he actually was really worried about. It was like so close. He like because nobody could believe they had been together for that long, for like 3 years or more. And she got pregnant by the other dude in like a month. Like everybody was like, they couldn't believe that. So Nate is on the phone joking about that, and we get that backstory from Corey. Like, this joke is a joke that need to be cut out, basically.
Right after the party, Brendan got a call from Trina, so he went to see Trina. Trina is the ex that like did him dirty. She's like, I want us to get back together, give me another chance. And Brendan, he just went over there because he was like, you know what, let me just get one for the road, basically. And he basically told her he might be willing to work on them. That was exactly where he messed up. Because Trina now, she's like, oh, he told me he gonna give me another chance. Let me do what I need to do to make sure I get this second chance. And Brendan, he realized after he got what he wanted, he was like, this ain't what I want. Trina's like, I'm giving you a second chance. Brendan's like, no, you're not. And she can't comprehend that he don't want her.
And he can't tell his boys this because he didn't already lied to them and told them that he kicked her to the curb. And he can't tell his best friend Renee this because Renee didn't already told him to kick her to the curb. Because Renee has very solid advice. She's a real one.
Basically, once Brendan tells Trina you ain't getting this shot, she can't comprehend it. She's not willing to accept her part in it. She's like, nah, you gotta give me another chance. You told me you was gonna give me another chance. And so this man busts out some Iyanla Van Zandt.
Mm-hmm.
And not only did he bust out some Iyanla, but he busted out some beloved quotes from Toni Morrison. I was like, now why is my favorite quote from the book in here?
And you know the crazy thing, he had it on the phone. He said, let me read something to you real quick. And guess what? She on the phone. Looking stupid. Couldn't say nothing else because he was right. You know how like sometimes, like how they be saying, oh, people learn therapy language or people take books and then they do use it the wrong way. No, he used it the right way. She was just on the phone just crying after that. Couldn't say nothing back to him after he read her that stuff because, girl, this is dead. Let it die.
And so, while all of that is going on, Nate, he's feeling Celine, he's feeling India, but he got another girl named Kim. A big part of Nate's personality is that he was raised by his grandma, and his grandma is the only one that he respects.
That's why you can't be with people who don't like their mamas. Nate, I always say that, and Nate is a prime example. He don't like his mama, and look.
He feeling Celine, like he's shocked that he's feeling her beyond like their first time sleeping together. But he also likes India, because he says she's hot, she's like...
India is more like the backup plan. India for him is more like a Sanaa Lathan, right? Sanaa Lathan always gives like girl next door type of vibes. That's what she is. Versus Celine is more like how people see Nia Long or how people see Gabrielle Union or Halle Berry. She is like the it girl. So it's like, of course, people think Sanaa Lathan is very fine. People love her, think she's fine, but she gives more like girl next door. That's the vibes that India gives him. Is more like, I could settle down, she's cute, this and that. Celine is more like fun, go like beauty, trophy wife type of thing. We into the same type of things. Very glamorous, just like how Nate is very glamorous. He's really more into Celine. It's not like India is just like Sanaa Lathan. It's not like Sanaa Lathan is ugly. It's not like she bad. It's just people sometimes like one more than the other one.
And then there's Kim. Kim is truly like his for real backup player. Like, think Annette and Pee Wee during the time when Pee Wee was running between Annette and all these girls. Kim is similar. She's cute. She's got money. She does well for herself. She's a very down to earth, very nice person. And Nate likes her, but he doesn't like her in the same way he likes Selena India.
Nate don't like nobody. Let me tell y'all already off rip. First of all, nobody compares to his grandma, but the only two women that he actually likes are India and Celine. Everybody else are background characters. Celine and India are cast members. Everybody else, they're extras.
Kim is like Kim off Moesha.
Mm-hmm. Like a reoccurring character. You're not main cast, but you're a reoccurring character that he can go back to, definitely. And she foolish. She believe him every time and goes back to him.
Like, we the audience like you, but he don't like you. Nate can't bear to be single. Let's just tell the truth.
As much as Nate wants to say he don't like women, even in the book it says this. That's the excitement in his life. Like, women genuinely excite him. That's what keeps him going, is playing this game with women.
Kim is like his for real backup plan. Like, if he don't got nobody else, he got Kim. Because she just keeps taking him back. Even though all her friends, including Trina of all people, keep telling her, stop taking him back before he moves home. So when he gets home, he's like staying with his mom until his stuff is ready. And this is when we meet his family. So he has a sister named Brenda. And Brenda has two kids, Tori and Kyle. Tori is 15. Kyle is like 11. So these are not like little kids. I bring that up because there's some stuff later that goes on in the book and it had me like, these aren't little kids. Tori is like, Corey describes her as she's not boy crazy like her mom was. You know, she likes to go out, have fun, but she also pretty responsible.
And Kyle is the opposite.
I want to know how you feel about this, because when I was reading it and they was describing like how Kyle was doing in school, and they was like he got ADD, and Corey was just like, no, he just need his butt whooped. I was like, this is a very 2000s book.
I think that it's very 2000s. It's very much with the times of he just need his butt whooped. But I also feel like there's a hint of truth in that. Not full truth. I don't think the school wise, he just needs his butt whooped. And this was one of the reasons why Corey wanted to come home, is that he becoming an age where he needs a man's influence. Corey's dad has passed away already. There's no man really around other than the neighbor that's like 50-something years old too, that is there to actually be stern with him. So when Corey comes, that's basically what he wants to do. That's his job. His job is like, yo, grandma said, do it the first time. Now with the school thing and him having ADD, definitely very 2000s. It was definitely very telling of the times and how they saw things, because yeah, they just saw it as that. That definitely rubbed me the wrong way when that was happening, because up until then I was with Corey. I was like, yeah, he need a little man there, come help him out. That little part, I was like, so is Kyle really bad?
Like you said, Corey moved home because he got this job, but also he wants to be there to be a good male role model to his nephew. He gets home, he's getting settled in. Nate calls. You home? You home? Good. We going to a party.
They all go to another party because they just party animals, apparently. They like to be with a party. Nate know everybody, which of course Nate is that type of person that knows everybody. Corey just moved back to the scene. Nate trying to hook up Corey or whatever, and they all just meeting people there. I don't think at this point I had decided on a favorite yet.
Nate is like, I'm gonna set you up with this another girl, Erica. He going to this party with Erica. He like, I'm gonna set you up with my girl's cousin Jay.
Corey asked him specifically, have you slept with Jay? Because he did not want his sloppy leftovers. And Nate said no. So they go to this party. And this party is where we meet the other ladies that's going to be in this.
The actual important lady.
Corey is talking to Jay. He kind of feeling her, but Jay goes to the restroom. So he like, okay, he gonna walk. He saw this hot little Amazon honey he wanted to talk to. So on his way to talking to her, he sees somebody. And he almost had a heart attack because he thought it was Shelly. It's Nina, Shelly's little sister, that he meets. And he like, because they look alike. He like, yeah, Nate told me he seen her and she had, grew up, but I ain't seen my girl in like 5 years. She was a teenager. Now she a woman. And she definitely finer than Shelly was at that time. What do you mean by that? They talk, they chat, they exchange numbers, and he goes back to finish up whatever he doing to talk to Jay. And Nate has Jay, and he talking to the girls and stuff like that. Brendan is like a manager at a store. He sees a customer that he saw before there. So he's like, hey, let me chop it up with this girl. I've seen you before. Her name is Lainey, and she's there. So they're chopping it up, and she seems like a cool girl. They end up leaving, and Nate, of course, he got his little big dog plan. So him, Jay, Erica, and Corey go to Nate's house. Brendan ends up talking to Lynn. They end up vibing. They end up having a good little conversation. So much so that the next day, Thanksgiving comes, right, y'all? They're going to all meet up at Corey's house. So Brendan brings Landy. You would think that Nate would bring Erica, right? No. You know why he didn't bring Erica? In the morning, he decides to go in the room with Jay, Erica's cousin. And we find out he's already had sex with Jay, Erica's cousin, who Corey had just had intercourse with the same night. He goes in there and he decides he wants to get him some. And you know what happens? Because Erica's in the next room. She wakes up like people normally do when there's so much commotion in the next room. And they get into it. Because what are you doing?
It was very ratchet.
And then Jay's like, well, you got a boyfriend. Now what you doing? Now what you doing telling my business? Because you got caught with there was just a lot going on. Of course, because it's Nate. So of course a lot was going on. And so he ends up going to India's mom's house because India invites him over and he's like, okay, I'm gonna go over her mama's house. And if she can't cook, I already got my dude gonna call me, tell me to go over there. Got my little escape plan. Turns out India mama could throw down, actually. So he enjoys being over there. India ends up dropping him off to Corey's house because Corey has his truck or whatever. They're like, okay, let's go. Let's kick it. What y'all want to do? They decide they want to go to a movie. Corey, as you hear, doesn't have anybody. Only number he has in town, guess whose number it is?
Nina.
Yeah, so he goes, calls Nina up, and they go see the movie.
But they don't go with everybody else. They go see it at a different theater.
Nate said, Nate, Nate. You don't think this is a little bit messy? The same Nate we've been talking, the same Nate that slept with the cousin while the cousin was in the room. That Nate. Corey's like, we just going out, we just hanging out. To me, that's when Corey took a turn for me. Because I was liking Corey up until that point. If Nate is telling you this, where your head really at? What's really going on? And at this point, this is when I started to have a favorite. I loved Brendan from the beginning because I don't even know what Brendan's supposed to look like, okay? I just know what he is in my mind. He is adorable in my mind, okay? He was a little bit fluffy, actually, when he got with when he was... So at this point, he a little cuddly teddy bear to me. So adorable, so cute, so loving. I'm like, oh, he's so cute. I love Brendan. I hope he get his fairy tale happy ever after. Nate, I started liking at this point, too. Because I told y'all this reminded me of another book. This started giving me skyscraper vibes. It's so messy. How messy the book started getting. I'm like, oh, this is skyscraper, period. That's when it started getting a 3 for me. The thing I love about Nate is he never pretends to be a good person. At no point throughout this book is he ever like, why is this happening? He is such a bad person, and he knows he's a bad person. And I like a villain that's a villain for no reason. Nate did not get his heart broken. They didn't get a chance. He a villain because he a villain. And I just knew Nate was gonna get his. I just knew Nate was gonna get his. Y'all see, he had started slowing down. He like India, and he like Celine. I'm like, one of these two gonna break his heart. Because at this point, it's starting to get serious. He bringing people out on multiple dates. He good for the mess. And he gonna get his.
So after that, Corey starts his new job. It's an amazing job. So they tell him, we got you a secretary, but if you want to get you a new one, we would prefer you hire somebody who's already in the company. But it's up to you, right? So he narrows it down to these 2 women, right? Mrs. Vance, a nice older black lady. Nice older black lady with all the experience. And Heather, a cute white woman that really don't got the experience, but she made a good first impression. Who y'all think he chose?
They could have kept it. I didn't need this part. I think this is the part where I started disliking Corey.
What really got me was him saying Mrs. Vance deserved this position. And this whole time he been talking about putting on for black people and taking care of our own and all of this, just to finally get in a position. And what he chose? A cute white woman who was there.
Married too. You know he like married women.
And this not to bash Heather either, because she made a good first impression. She said, listen, you give me this job, she was going to go over and above doing her job. And she did her job. We'll give her that. You know how like when black men get in power, they get the chance to start making decisions? I don't know who said this, but it's like black people don't want equality. They want the same access to privilege that white people have.
Exactly, because it's always what I coulda, shoulda, woulda did. And honestly, that's the reason why he left his last company, because they didn't give him the promotion that he knew he deserved. But then they get elevated, and then what do? And I think that he did a good job. What I will say about this author is he did a good job at making everybody human, but still a little bit likable. Like Nate should not be likable at all. Let's be real. Nobody should read Nate and think that he is an okay person. He is a terrible person. But the way that they write it, it's like, you know Nate. Everybody know how Nate is and I feel like he did a good job at balancing people and making them feel like people. When you read the story, is it dramatic? Yes. But life is dramatic. These could be actual people. If somebody told me they knew somebody like Nate, they knew somebody like Corey, they knew somebody like Brendan, we all do.
I can tell you for myself, I know people like these dudes, all 3 of them.
Yeah, it was so much more relatable. The thing that I did like about this book too is that they show black men in a light that I don't think that we've seen black men in a light in a lot of the books that we've read. And I think maybe it's because it's written by a black man. Because like I said, all of these characters, they have parts and things that you might not like about them. But I don't think other than Nate. I don't think they are a great representation of black men, but I don't think they're the worst representation of black men that we've seen, especially given the time.
Honestly, considering the time, they probably were great representation for that time.
I honestly feel like that. They were probably really good representation.
Have you ever seen the movie How to Be a Player?
Mm-hmm.
That's Nate.
That is literally Nate.
That's Nate.
By Christmas time, y'all, the only women that Nate is talking to is India and Celine. At this point, Braden is with the Landy girl. They doing good. She got him working out. He didn't lost his pounds, so now he less fluffy. Him and Renee are still cool. All his girlfriends always got beef for Renee. Period. They're gonna always have some type of beef with Renee because Renee is Renee. She's his girl best friend. She's been around since they was in high school. They live together now, so everybody think they got something going on when they actually don't have nothing going on. But other than that, Landy seems like a pretty cool girl. Corey hasn't really talked to Nina, but it's Christmas, he's shopping, he feels like, let me get her a gift. So he calls her.
But not only does he call her, he gets a gift for her, he gets a gift for Paula, he gets a gift for his other boo thing, which is Darlene, a cheerleader in Atlanta. Like, he's getting gifts for all of his women, but he ain't talked to none of them.
Exactly. He's just thinking about them. So he calls, a man answers the phone. He's like, oh, well, Nina's not here right now. And, we thinking it might be her boyfriend or something. He's like, but can I keep saying a message? Says Corey's name on there. A girl's like, is that Corey? Corey, da, da, da. And she answers, she's like, hello, is this Corey? And so, yeah, it's Corey, right? And guess what the lady is? Shelly. Shelly's like, hey, who you calling for? He was like, actually, I'm calling for Nina. And she's like, Corey, why the heck are you calling for my sister? She's like, y'all seen each other? Like, no, we just hung out a little while ago, but we ain't really been seeing each other. I just saw her at a party. It was nothing big. She probably forgot. That's why she answered. She like, oh. And he was like, we were together for like 3 years. She knows when I'm lying. So she know that he's lying. But Shelly just like, okay, baby, Nina get home. Because Nina, this back in the day, she's forward all her calls to Shelly's house. She get home. Shelly asks her a simple question. Oh, have you talked to Corey lately? I heard you moved back to DC. No, she lie. That's all Shelly needed. Shelly said, get up out my house. The boyfriend, who was the one who answered, it was Shelly's boyfriend. He talking about why you even mad? She said, you can get up out the house too. Because this not about how long it's been. It's not about it's been 5 years. This was my love. This is the man I love. Both of y'all been on some weird stuff and y'all can get out. And what she tell Nina? She said, Corey is a dog and he gonna dog you out. Why?
I wrote in my notes, Shelly ain't tell not one lie.
And also by this time, y'all, Celine and your boy Nate, nobody said nothing, but it's allegedly gone to the next level. She like his woman. She the main woman. So even though he cool with India, but if he gotta go chill with Celine, he gonna chill with Celine and then go hit up India.
So during this time, Nina, Shelly put me out the house. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I can't go to my mama's house. Corey's like, come over here. Somehow we go from crying to sleeping together. Like I said, I read the book twice. The first time I read the book, I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm just reading, right? The second time I read it, knowing what's going to happen, what's going to take place, I want to give Darren his credit. He dropped a whole lot of hints of what was going to come with Corey and Nina. This is why I honestly say I stick by my 4. Because after reading it the second time, I'm like, yeah, he did that.
It's a lot of foreshadowing, but you won't get to it unless how he said. If you haven't read the whole book, baby, you're not putting them pieces together. I won't say I'm really good at foreshadowing, but I'm really good at like kind of picking up on where a story is going to go. But for me, what makes it a good author is if I can't figure out exactly how it's going to happen, because I know something going to happen.
At this point, we kind of like in the like main relationships, which is Brendan with Lainey, Corey with Nina, and Nate with Celine and India, right? Around this point in the book, I was like, at this point, we know these are like going to be the main girls. So why we keep adding in more girls that we know are not going to bring nothing? I was kind of getting frustrated with that. But basically what happens is those are the main relationships, right? So the next scene, Nate is on Jerry Springer.
This is one of my favorite scenes.
Nate is on Jerry Springer. They bring him out on the stage. Kim is there, Erica there, Celine is there. Basically, Kim is like, I got a call from my homegirl Trina that she's seen India with my man, and then she's seen Celine driving my man's car. She called the show. Jerry brings Nate out on stage. Nate, what's going on? She lying, and the girls jump him.
Oh, and cheering and everything.
They get dragged off the stage, and then Jerry's like, Nate, what you got to say for yourself? And India and Celine, they both like, before he even start, India's like, I did this for you, I did that for you, I tried to take you to church. Keep in mind, India is a church girl. Talking about she was saving herself for her man, but yeah, she was sleeping with Nate. Church girl.
You know how this goes.
In 90s book, that is a thing. And every time they lose. Every time. I've rarely read a book where they made it through marriage.
Everybody that trying to save themselves always, they don't be winning in the end. She didn't mean her husband. She meant her whichever partner is her partner. That's what she meant.
I'm gonna say this: you can't win doing it on your own. You really need Jesus to do that. But basically, India's like, I was saving myself, and I thought we was gonna be together, and then I found out about this girl, and Celine look at her like she crazy. And India's like, I wish you would try something. I'll take both of y'all out. And then Celine gives him a piece of her mind. India pulls a gun on him. And she's like, Nate, I'm gonna leave it up to the audience. What goes on with you? And the audience is like, kill him! Kill him! And he look out in the audience, it's all the women he dogged out. And guess who's in that audience? Corey's sister, Brenda.
I didn't know Ratchet was a language. This is in Ratchet.
This was when I was like, I was done with Nate. Because I was like, Corey's sister. And you don't want to tell him because you know he gonna get mad. But yet you get mad at Corey for feeling bad for the girls that you be dogging out. But one of the girls you dogged out was his sister. Throw the whole friendship away. But yeah, basically the girls are like, kill him, kill him. So he started begging for his life. He like, Celine, I'm sorry, I always loved you. Please don't let them kill me. And come to find out, it's a bad dream.
But guess who heard the I love you?
Because she was sitting there watching them sleep. She like, who is India? Why is she trying to kill you? What you mean you love me all of a sudden? What's going on?
And he was hoping she didn't hear it, but he was feeling it.
Yeah, so basically after the bad dream, we switch over to Brendan, right? And so Brendan is with Lainey. She's got him right, got him fit. You know, he's starting to look good to the women. He was never ugly, but they starting to feel him now. Lainey comes over because it's his birthday's coming up. She's made him this promise of like, if you can stick to our fitness plan till like the 4th of July, you'll get fireworks. Fireworks is sleeping together, right? She sees Renee. Hey, Renee, how you doing? She wants Renee to like her, right? Because she recognizes that Renee is important to him. You know, Renee just being chill, being herself, being cool. Brenda's like, Renee, what we doing for my birthday? And she's like, just wait and see. Then it'll be worth it. Lainey didn't like that. At that point, she no longer cared about Renee liking her. She's like, nope, this is my man. I gotta make sure it's understood that this is my man. So she decides to give him his fireworks a little bit early.
She's like, oh, he gonna be somewhere now. He can't go to dinner or whatever, do whatever he gonna do after with Renee. Mind you, Renee and him just friends. So the guys ended up going out to dinner for his birthday. I think he took India this time.
It's the main girls, right? But at this time, Corey is with Nina, right? His mama is like, baby, you know what you're doing? This is the second time somebody done told him, are you sure this is a good idea? I mean, you was just with her sister. Like, Corey like, yeah, it's all right, it's all right. So they go out to dinner for Brendan's birthday. They kicking it, they having a good time. And the way Corey described them, he said they was a mix of street and class like Whitney Houston. So during the same scene, we find out just off the side that Nate knows Toni Braxton. This gonna be a throwback for y'all who been watching the book swap. But remember when Tati said in every book from the 90s and 2000s, it's always gonna be 2 women that's gonna be in these books. And both of them was mentioned. While they out having a good time being a mix of class and street like Whitney Houston, it's these dudes that are part of the local basketball team like in the NBA. And they know Nate. Saying hey to Nate, saying what's up, what's going on. It's this basketball player. His name is Joe Simpson, right? He looks at Lainey. He like, wait a minute. You the one from the party last year that robbed me. And so everybody's like, what's going on? Come to find out, Lainey is a stripper. She and her girls, they did a private party for Joe and his boys when he got drafted onto the team. Some of his stuff ended up coming up missing. And he was like, oh, it was you? And I done finally found you? Oh yeah, I'm going to let the authorities know I saw you. And so everybody is shook. They're like, not Lainey. Not sweet little old Lainey. Brendan, most of all, is pissed off because he is like, This ruined his birthday. It ends on a sour note. They going home. Lainey is like, she can see that Brendan is pissed off and hurt. And she's like, she basically like, I can explain. Brendan's like, don't even bother. You lied to me. You ain't tell me none of this. And Lainey's like, I did it because I knew you was going to treat me the same if you knew. Brendan is basically like, he drops her off at home. He like, get out my car. And then he goes home.
It felt very much like Men Cry in the Dark.
That
It
scene,
felt very much like that scene from Men Cry in the Dark.
this is what she deserves.
I feel so bad for Brendan because I'm like, my boy can't catch a break. The guy said, you want to see the video. Now, what he should have did was saw the video. I feel like that will probably have been the only thing that set him straight because he should have saw a video or something. I feel like it kind of changed him. I felt really bad. I felt really embarrassed for him. And I just felt like Lainey has so much audacity and nerve. And that's the interesting thing that I've noticed about Brendan's women and specifically. Same with Trina not wanting to leave him alone. Like they feel like they could do whatever to him. And somehow he's still supposed to be that man. Somehow they're still worthy. Like Lainey's like, I know I'm not really worthy and but you still feel that connection to him and you still want to be with, you still want to put him through the same stuff. It's like,
I just want to throw in there, all his women acted like that. Every single last one.
I was very in between at this point with Lainey. I didn't know what type of girl she was going to be. Because you know how, what you call it? I think her name was Trina or something like that. Whatever the other girl's name was from Men Cry in the Dark. Nikki, I think, okay. She was so cool and such a good person. For him to just throw her character out like that, it really made me mad. So I was hoping that Lainey might have some redemption, like, because she was talking about, like, you know, just letting you know my story, And I felt like she was more remorseful than Trina. I feel like Trina, right after it happened, was like, take me back, take me back, take me back. You're my man, you're my man, you're my man. And I feel like Lainey was more, she was still possessive, undeservingly, but she was a little bit more reserved than Trina.
Brendan's birthday is a disaster. He gets home to this waiting to exhale scene. It's so very clearly inspired by the movie scene, but with a man added in. You want to know what was crazy to me? Listening to them talk, it was very crazy that it's based on the movie scene, but they all sounded like the book girl.
He said, I know my research. I did my research. Okay.
I don't even know if he did do his research. I just think it just might have happened. Especially that one girl that's supposed to be Robin, book Robin all the way.
The thing that y'all probably will be surprised about that I love the most, Brendan was one of my favorites at this point. And he just got his little heartbroken. It's like, he kind of stood up for the men there. It wasn't like a Nate way either. It wasn't like he was being a Nate. He was just like, you out of line for that. You out of line for that. And of course, he had some typical male responses that, of course, he a man. But I think for me, it was looking up for him. I actually was enjoying this part for him. No, it wasn't with the women he should have stood up for himself with. It was something. I felt like it was going to be something.
Brendan was the perfect man to put in this scene because he's the most sensitive. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Because imagine Nate in this scene.
Nate in this scene is going one or two ways. Either A, which was most likely not even going to be him, he either about to just say whatever all the women want to hear, all the right things that the women want to hear.
So he can get with all of them?
Exactly. Or because all of them know him and the jig is probably up, oh, baby, this might be another scene with Candy again. People might be getting knocked out at the end of this.
I wouldn't even say it would be a scene with Candy. I feel like it would be more of a scene like, remember how you said Men Cry in the Dark gave podcasts?
It gave stereotypical and it gave negative. And not like negative in a pain way, like negative in a boo-hoo, like podcast way. A lot of this book gave podcasts to me.
Nate is a classic podcast man.
I feel like this would have gave podcasts with Nate. Like it would have literally been Nate spewing off the most
vile,
off the wall talking points. Literally how a podcast goes when they talk about relationships. Them annoying podcast clips that go viral. It would have been that. I feel like Corey would have just been Nate.
I was literally about to say that. I was going to say, I don't think Corey would say anything. I feel like in this situation, Corey would just be listening. And then with the book, we'll be hearing him judge the women and all the things he's thinking. But I think in the situation, Corey wouldn't be saying nothing. He'll be like, yeah, they was talking about whatever they was talking about, but I was thinking about Nina or I was thinking about Paula. That's him.
The actual girls in the scene very much the book girls, even though it's supposed to be the movie scene, because that one girl, I think her name is Andrea. When I tell y'all she was book robbing for real, that lady said, I don't want a man that spends too much money on me. I got the point she was making, but when she said I was dating this dude that owned a mattress company and he might be a millionaire, but I wasn't feeling him because he was spending too much money on me, and instead I got with his delivery driver, Brendan said what I was thinking in that exact moment.
Don't make me mad.
Brendan said what I was thinking. Because she was like, I wasn't feeling him, but I was accepting his gifts. And Brendan was like, why, if you're not feeling him, why not just say you're not feeling him? You keep accepting his gifts, that makes him think you feeling him. And you just playing hard to get. Don't that sound like book robbing to y'all? Miss Michael gonna give me everything I want. He has everything that I want in a man, but he just not cute, even though he wasn't even ugly like that. But I want to be with Russell and Troy. Russell who got a girl pregnant and cheating on me and married a whole other woman, and I've always been his side chick. And Troy, who's a whole drug addict, drug dealer.
And I'm going into credit card debt to help to pay off everything for them. It was stupid. And that's the thing that I enjoy about Brendan. The same way he is with the men, like, y'all shouldn't be doing this. Same way with the women. It's not like, oh, when women do it, well, you know, us guys do it. No, he was like, y'all is raggedy. I saw how the women were trying to justify it. But at the same time, it's like how you said, if you tell somebody, I don't want to keep, bro, I don't want to be with you, and they want to keep giving, I already told you I didn't want to be with you. But you know he like you, and you not telling him, that's crazy. Or like the girl, her husband working 2 jobs.
Working 2 jobs, take care of her. And then when Brendan tells her, you know you're doing him dirty, she want to catch an attitude.
2 jobs. Her husband's working 2 jobs to take care of her. And I felt like he was kind of getting his, being able to say what he wanted to say to all the other women too that have done him dirty.
The girlies is like, baby, you might have had a little bit too much to drink. So he goes upstairs, and the girls is like, Renee, Brendan a little cute now. And Renee's like, no, it's not like that. It's not like that. Just for later that evening for her to go upstairs. And it was like that. That lady walked in the bathroom to check on Brendan. Keep in mind, she always goes in the bathroom when he's in there. This is not nothing unusual to them. She's like, hey, you doing okay? You want some? And she's holding popcorn, so she's offering him popcorn. He's drunk. He's like, no, I don't want no popcorn. I want you. And they sleep together. It's an intense scene. And then the next day, they wake up like nothing happened. And they just like, we just gonna go on like nothing happened. But something did happen.
This is where Brendan started being on thin ice for me. You know who deserved this treatment? Landy. You know who deserved this treatment? Trina. You know who didn't deserve this treatment? My girl Renee, who was there for you, who you lived with. This is where Brendan started to get strikes for me. Because what do you mean I can't decide between Renee? Day one, always been solid, is attractive, dropped all her people for you, you living with her, all of that. And Landy, who on candid camera stealing.
So after they do that, Brendan go running. Guess who at the track? Lainey. She want to talk. Brendan like, I ain't talking to her. So they don't talk. But what ends up happening is, like Tati said, Lainey, she comes back into his life in a way that Trina couldn't seem to figure out how to do, right? Lainey's very subtle with it. She like, let me send him some gifts. Let me give him his space. Let me be like, I understand why you don't want to talk to me. That makes Brendan start feeling a little bit like, feeling her again. Because keep in mind, at this point in the book, Brendan don't know her side of the story. He only knows what the basketball player told him. He don't know her side of the story. He don't know what's going on with her. But basically, he's like, maybe I was a little too hard. But then again, she did lie to me. Now, granted, I was like, how does she, at this point, I was like, how does she lie? Because she didn't tell you? Who wants to disclose that information about themselves to somebody?
They were dating though. I felt what he was saying. Imagine I'm just walking, minding my own business, and Angela Reese walk up to me and be like, that man robbed me. What man? Where? It can't be this one. It cannot be this one. It's even worse because of that. He a man. So this is a ball player. So it's not even like, oh, actually, it's like a YouTuber or something, like a girl in makeup, a singer or something. Girl, I'm walking down the street, Coco Jones walking up to me talking about that man robbed me blind on my birthday with all my homeboys. I can't even lie. I Because they heard the same thing I heard. What Renee said, Renee ain't never lied. But did we want to listen to Renee? No, we couldn't decide. I couldn't decide. And that's Brendan's problem too. You are very gullible. And you need to start thinking about that. But that's when it started being like, okay, Brendan, do people keep treating you wrong? Or do you just not care about the signs?
While all of this is going on, Nina and Corey, they argue over a movie at Blockbuster. And Nina like, I don't want to watch no movie that you saw with another girl. Nina is 25. Corey is like in his late 20s. Y'all too old and too grown for this. Corey realizes that Nina likes to start stuff just so that they can go home and have makeup sex. That's what she likes. That's what she does, right? And he's like, I don't know how I feel about that. It's like during this conversation, she calls him a dog and he gets upset about it. And she's like, well, if the shoe fits, wear it. Why at the end of the chapter, Corey talking about, I got my woman and the shoe fits?
Shelly might tell you a joke, but she ain't never told you a lie. She ain't never told you no lie. Because let me tell you something, and even in the book, you'll realize this. Shelly called him a dog was low-key semi out of line because he ain't never did none of that stuff with her. But he was definitely a dog to Nina. He was definitely a dog. He ain't that history with Shelly. I don't think he ever did any of that with Shelly. But with Nina, the shoe did. The shoe, in fact, did fit very well. Like how he went back after this. He ended up going back to Atlanta. Why? Oh, because my friend's wedding. AKA to meet up with Paula, the married woman. That's really why he went back.
But before that, basically, we go back to Nate, right? Nate is taking Celine to the airport, but he's supposed to be going out with India later that night. And basically, he timed it to where he was like, if Celine gets on this plane by 4:30, I can make it to India by 6. That did not happen. And India is like, you do this all the time. I'm sick of this. So Nate is like, well, baby, I'm here now. Let's go do something. She's like, no. I got me, my homegirl, and we going out to the club. And it was at this moment that Nate realized that India was not Kim.
Mm-hmm.
It was this exact moment he realized India was not going to wait for him. Granted, at this point in the book, she's been pressing for a commitment. He's been avoiding this talk with her, but he wants to have this talk with Celine. He don't got India because she went out. Celine is out in Barbados. Can't call Kim because Kim is mad at him. He calls Corey's apartment, but Nina picks up. Nina is over there watching Corey's niece and nephew. Why this lady watching a 15-year-old and an 11-year-old?
I could see maybe an 11-year-old, but a 15-year-old?
The 15-year-old is old enough to watch the 11-year-old. Can we just be honest? The 11-year-old is old enough to be at home by himself if he's trustworthy.
Kyle is not trustworthy. Now, Troy, I give it to her. Kyle, nah, somebody got to be at the house. Somebody got to be at the house.
I wouldn't even say he's not trustworthy because let's be real, all he was going to do was play video games. Because what was he doing when he called?
Baby, exactly. Ain't gonna brush no teeth, ain't gonna wash no hair, ain't gonna get in no shower. Just gonna be there.
That's why I'm like, he might not be trustworthy if you ask him to do something, but you'll know he'll be home. He's not going nowhere.
I think he mainly said it for what you call it, because Troy really, it was nothing to do. She just probably driving Troy around. She's not really doing nothing. But Nate, the whole thing with Nate too is Nate already know what's going on. He just trying to fill out Corey game. People, he over here gaining respect. He like, wow, Corey got her babysitting while he out with. If you got Nate respect, you need to question what you're doing in life. If Nate respects you, you need to question what you're doing in life.
He got the story about what Corey told Nina. Then he calls Brendan. Now, keep in mind, earlier that day, Lainey came by, right? Remember I told y'all Lainey trying to weasel her way back in? Well, she came by. She was like, hey, I got you a gift. I got this letter for you. Just read it on your own time, right? Renee come. Mind you, Brendan and Renee just slept together. So they in their underclothes, right? When Lainey come by, she like, what is going on here? It was a mess. But basically, Nate called Brendan. Brendan tells him what's going on with him and Renee. Nate is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you finally slept with Renee.
So mind you, they've been doing their thing for like 5 weeks. They had already kind of talked about it. But I guess when Lainey came, they needed to have another talk. And Renee's like, you know what, let's just go back to normal. They're like, cool, okay, let's go back to normal. Because he needed to still figure out, again, they're nice. Because what is there to figure out? What is there to figure out for real, for real? That's the question.
Nate gave him some advice, and Brendan was like, I'm becoming too much like Nate. Let me go fix this. Like you said, Renee was like, what is there to figure out? Like, why is she still popping up? I thought y'all was done. Brendan is like, well, I'm still trying to figure things out. So that made her upset. And I'm not gonna lie, the first time I read this, Renee was starting to irk me around this time. You want to go back to friends, but you still feeling him, but you won't tell him. Basically, Brendan like, I'm gonna go figure this out. So then we find out Corey actually did go to a party in Atlanta. But it wasn't a wedding party, it was an anniversary party. So he down there turning up, having him a good time. He gets to the hotel room. Paula came by and dropped off a letter basically saying, hey baby, we're done. I'm getting back with my husband. I can't live without all the stuff he gives me.
I don't quit. Man, you can't fire me. I already quit.
And so she's like, yeah, I'm gonna stay with my man. Thanks for the great time. Deuces. Why Corey pissed off? Talking about some she used me. I can't believe she did this to me. Mind you, he keeps saying he's in love with Nina. He wants to do right by Nina. He don't want to do Nina like this. But yeah, you mad because your professor boo ain't come through.
So, and then what do? You don't call Nina. You don't go chill. You don't decide, I'm going to just go back home. Maybe this is a sign for me to stay in the house. You call up your other cheerleader. She got a whole nother boo. You didn't filled up her head. He probably was not even right about nothing. But in her head, you didn't got in my head about everything. So now you didn't mess up how I feel about this dude. And so then guess what? That's the girl that helped him pack up his stuff. That's the girl that took him to the airport. He get on the plane and talk to this little boy while he on the plane. And the boys asking him, like, where should I go to school? It's between two HBCUs. Come on now. The boy tells, you got something in your collar. He was like, us men got to stick together. And Corey was like, what do you mean, us men? You are 15 years old. He's like, and is this the example that I should be setting for these boys and stuff like that? And when they were talking, are you going to treat certain type of women like that if they deserve it? He was like, so what your girl did to deserve it? Corey was like, and the boy's like, I'm sorry. I ain't mean no offense. I ain't even mean nothing by that. He was like, no. Dang, nothing.
Up until that moment, he was like, oh, this boy seemed kind of nice. Somebody want to introduce him to Tori. But as soon as Corey started filling up his head, and as soon as the boy like, oh, we got to stick together. Oh, I'm looking up to you. Oh, never mind. I don't think I want to introduce this boy to Tori. Mind you, what was the secondary reason Corey went back to DC? To be a good example to Kyle.
When the boy was like, we got to stick together, he was like, whoa. And then when the boy asked him, like, what did your girl do? He was like, dang, what kind of example am I setting? Like, it really made him think about it. That talk with that kid, even though in the last 4 months they've been together, he already cheated twice. It's not happening no more. He in love with her. And that's going to be that.
Brendan. He finally reads that letter from Lainey. My mama was a drug addict. I've been raising my nephew, because my sister's dead, something. It was a long sob story about how she basically had to put herself through school by stripping like she was Diamond off Players Club.
But she didn't actually go through school.
Because it was just too much going on. So she just was making the money, and she regretted doing the party because it was greedy of her. Like basically this long sob story to make Brendan feel sorry for her and give her a chance.
There is a part of the letter where she says, I wish I had a good reason for doing it. I wish I could say I was high or drunk or something, but I was not. So she was not high. She was not drunk. She didn't have no good reason to rob them men.
She also said she wasn't the one that did it. It was another girl. She just saw it.
But she didn't have no reason to be a part of that. You don't have no good reason, but you're doing it. You're robbing men. Why would I take you back? I feel like it was a great sob story, but I just feel like it wasn't a good enough excuse for me. I just felt like Renee was the better choice. Started to very much give Robin to where you turn from a character I really liked to a character that I now see as willfully ignorant. And that's when, traumatically, that's when Nate became my favorite. Nate was not supposed to be my favorite, okay? I was supposed to love me some Brayden. I already knew Corey wasn't going to be my favorite. Corey remind me of, what's the other boy name from The Itch?
Oh, Coleman or Miles?
Coleman. One that gives so many excuses on why they're a good person, but I just cheat on my girlfriend. I only cheat on her twice. It's only been 4 months. Twice in 4 months? Like, yeah, that's how Corey is for me. So I wasn't really feeling Corey. The reason I really like Nate too, it's always been because I felt like Nate is gonna get his in the end. That's one of the main reasons why I really like Nate's character. Because it's like, okay, Nate is interesting. He is crazy. Like he crazy. He got the drama. He interesting. He honest to us, not to women, but to us. And I just felt like he gonna get his at the end. Like very charismatic, very fun, but he gonna get his at the end. That's what I always thought. And yeah, so that's when it was a lot of pressure on this author, on this man, on Darren. It was a lot of pressure on him to give me, to make sure that Nate got what he deserved, okay? Because that's the only thing I'm holding on to at this point. Because Brayden didn't get, I thought Brayden was going to get a happily ever after. It started to be more and more clear to me when he read that and started feeling sad that, oh, this is not going to be what I thought it was going to be. This is not going to be it.
Corey takes Nina out. And while they on the date, he's like, yeah, this my lady. This the one I want to be with. Nate, on his way to Celine, because she is finna shoot this video for this R&B singer named Sean Simmons. So they going to New York for that. While he on the highway, India is literally driving right next to him. She sees him, but he can't see her. So she gets a phone call on the phone. Nate's like, hey baby, I'm going out of town. I'm taking my grandma to the doctor. She in the car with me. India look out the window. She like, in her mind, she like, I don't see no grandma. But she think Nate just playing. Because at this point, she like, oh, Nate must see me. He must be playing, right? But she quickly find out he's not playing. So she follows him down to Celine's house. She like, oh, it's another woman. A bootleg Alicia Keys. Okay, I'm gonna sit outside and I'm gonna wait for him to come back out. Cause what she was finna do was she was finna stab him up with a knife. But he ain't never come back out.
That's what I was hoping for. But guess what? He went to New York and it was everything was all good for him.
It was amazing, right? Until it wasn't. He think he just going up to chill. Celine goes out to like get ready for what she gotta do, right? He gets a call on the phone. Hey, Celine there? No, she not here. Well, who is this? I'm just here with her. What you look like? I'm tall, dark, I'm this and that. Why? We need a model for the video. Come on. Well, I ain't a model. It's okay. Celine brought you. Celine don't choose ugly people. Come on.
And Sean was like, I know exactly who you are. If you came with Celine, I know who you are.
When they pulled up, the producer was like, not bad. And Nate was like, not bad. Talking about how Nate looked.
Yeah, you know, he's so full of himself. He couldn't handle. And y'all, mind y'all too, he been so excited to see her. This was the talk of his trip. He was so excited to see Miss Shawn. Miss Shawn, she was so awesome. He wanted to see her so bad.
That man ego was hurt. Keep in mind, in his area, he's the man. Everybody knows him. He got all this money. He gets in wherever he wants to. Don't gotta wait in line. I'm just a not bad. You're just not bad.
In the video, he ends up, of course, playing her lover, right? Her love interest. During the actual scene,
They decided they was gonna do some method acting.
she decided she wanted them to actually be nude and stuff like that for the video. They were like, oh, this look real. Like, this is really good. But Trish knew, and Trish was like, okay, this weird. This disgusting, because Trish knows Sean, she knows Celine, and she knows that Sean knows that Celine and Nate are a thing.
So Trish gets on the phone and calls Celine. Hey, let me tell you what your man was doing down at the video shoot.
And so after that, they end up going to a party. They all end up leaving, and Celine and Nate, they go to sleep without they ain't even kiss each other goodnight. That's what it literally says, without a goodnight kiss. So then Nate, he go out the next day, he doing whatever he gonna do. He come home.
Celine in the bed with Sean.
Yeah, Celine is in the bed with Sean. And I'm gonna say this. Let me tell y'all something. Revisiting this, he might get a 4. A little bit because of this scene. It wasn't enough for me, but now I really get it. When he walks in, Celine can't see him, and Sean is a woman, if y'all don't know, and Sean knows that he's there, and she turned up the action. He doesn't know how he feels because he loves her, and he cannot believe that she is this way. But when Sean come out and give him instructions to do what he do, he did what he do, and they all did it together. And you would think that that would be fun for him. He would be having the time of his life, which he semi was. He was actually really, really hurt. And after everything happened, they were at a party or something. I forgot what they were at, but he was like, I'm leaving. She was like, why are you leaving? Like, what's going on? All the idea of you being my wife and the mother of my child, all this out the window. Like, Nate, of all people, is mad because he was lied to. He asked her at the party, hey, because he thought her and Trish were a thing. And she was like, no. And Selena's like, I'm sorry. I thought we were having fun. Because remind y'all, she was like, I already know what type of game you on. You a playboy. Like, he was like, oh, no, I'm not. He was like, I thought we really cared for each other. Like, I loved you. She was like, I did not know that you felt that way. I'm sorry, my dear. He was like, so you never cared about me? She's like, I cared about you. I thought we was just having fun. It was anticlimactic for me. It wasn't gut-wrenching enough. Looking back, I get it, right? Especially because she was like, so if you would have put it together, it would have been fun, right? Because it's like, he walked into every man's dream. He actually cried. We actually got a man that cried in the dark. He actually cried. And I don't think I took it in as much of like how big of a deal that Celine made him cry, because it just wasn't enough for me. But when you think about it, I'm like, dang, it actually was a lie. Because not only did he walk in on her with another person, he felt like she had lied to him. He loved her and she didn't love him. Maybe I did get the good end, because that's what I wanted. I wanted Nate to get his. I just needed him to.
Mind you, Selena said, I didn't know you felt that way, but remember back in the nightmare? What did she hear in his sleep?
Love you. But she said maybe it was subconscious. It was a subconscious I love you. Maybe he didn't really mean it.
But she also said it was nice to hear.
The issue that Nate is mad about is that the dog got outdogged today. He thought he had the game and she was the coach.
It wasn't even over because he goes straight to India. India not even home. She pull up, hop out somebody whip, looking nice, looking cute, hair done, and he see a dude. He like, let me wait. It might not be what I think it is. Then he sees them kiss. Then he sees the dude pulling her parking spot. He get out the car. He run up on them. India like, what you doing here? I done left you all these messages, and now you want to show up? I done moved on. They like, you can't move on. Why this man start choking his lady out?
And mind you, she like, oh, I provoked him. I left them messages. He didn't hear none of them messages. He just pulled up and was like, you know what? This is the deciding factor. India, my lady. And she felt really bad. The guy that was there, because he ended up going in the house for a little bit. Oh, baby, he came outside with a bat. Because y'all know Nate kind of came outside with a bat, like, get off her. Nate go to the car. You want to pull out a bat? I got you.
Maybe it's just the Texas in me. But why he ain't already have one?
For real. Why you didn't ran back to the car? I think it probably also is because, Nate can fight. So maybe he thought he only got it because the guy had a bat. They get to going back and forth. He like, bro, just leave her alone. Nate is like, you gonna leave and I'm gonna go in the house with her and I'm about to put it down. The guy go say, like I did last night and this morning, it was done. It was a bats were swung and shots were fired. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. The cops were called.
In India, she was like, "It's too much. I'm gonna go stay with my sister," and that's the last we heard of India. But I just want to say, I don't know how this is going to reflect on me, but why, when I was reading the scene, I'm like, I don't care how much crap Nate is talking. I would have swung.
Yeah, he was really acting like he was that dude. I probably would have came back with the bat before then, because why are you so comfortable? And Nate always is with this, by the way.
The first time he was talking all that smack, I would have just popped him right then and there. When he came out with that bat and he was like, do it, I wish you would. Don't tell me that.
That's why I was saying in the beginning, when he hit that girl, I'm like, that's how Nate is. When the basketball players came, he started cracking his knuckles. Nate is just really with that for some reason. Maybe that's why, because you got to be with it if you keep playing games like this with people. Nate's whole thing is, you can't treat him too bad because you got to be low key. You got to be low. Nate, what is low key about this? You dated a hairstylist. Everybody who hair she does has heard about Nate. Like, I know what happened, what he decided to do when he lost both of his little ladies, right? Who he called?
Hey, Kim. And what Kim do?
He finally settled down.
So all of that goes down, right? Then we get to Brendan. We find out Brendan and Renee slept together again. Renee said to Brendan, I love you. I have always loved you. She put it out there, right? Now, the first time I read this, I'm not gonna lie, I missed that part. But when I read it the second time, I caught it. Because what happened was, they did that, and then they went back to being friends, right? So then Brendan is in the bed with Lainey, and Renee come home. So Brendan takes Lainey home, and he tells Lainey that she's the one. He wants to be with her. Renee and her homegirls done packed up his stuff. It's in storage. And This honestly, this really tells you about Renee's character in this moment, because she didn't pull a Bernadine and just tear all his stuff down and throw it out and burn it up in front of the. No, she packed it up neatly, paid for a storage for 2 months, had it sent there, moved professionally, made sure nothing was broken, everything was good, packed up stuff that he needed. Like, she thinks this is what you gonna need, just in case. So this is your stuff that you can take with you right now. Had her homegirl like, listen, if you can't fit it on your car, I'll go with you. Drop it off. Mind you, the homegirl's pissed off at him. All of them is pissed off at him. But she like, listen, if you need somebody to go with you to drop your stuff, I'll go with you. She just don't want to talk to you. She just don't want to see you. She very hurt. She made sure all his stuff was gave him back his rent that he paid to stay there. Now, the first time I read this scene, I was like, I was annoyed with her, because I was like, now Renee, you ain't had to do all of that, because you literally said we can go back to being friends. So why are you doing all of that? But reading it the second time and reading that she said that she loved him and she put it all out there, and then Brendan went and did all of that with Lainey in the house, I was like, and then to find out that Renee still had enough respect for him to not destroy his stuff in a fit of anger, just nicely packed it up and put it out, and had a plan ready to go.
I didn't catch the part where she said she loved him either. I just think it's disrespectful. With the same girl that then been bopped around with basketball players, I just thought it was disrespectful. Renee is how you said she had everything packed. And when he went upstairs, they was like, oh, he upstairs. He going upstairs. The door was already locked. And so he knocking on the door. When he came back down, what her homegirl said, Renee said, don't call her, don't text her. If she does forgive you ever, she will contact you. And if you were ever a real friend to her, you would not come to the house, you would not call her, you would not try to see her. He knew if Renee was standing right there in front of him, that's exactly what she would have said, because that sounds just like Renee, because that's exactly what she was telling him to do with all other girls. But you know the difference is, Renee gonna stand 10 toes down, like she did. She don't care that you've been her best friend for how long? And she was able to cut you off and say, you know what, this person hurt me, I'm not gonna go back with them. But you didn't let Trina, you didn't let Landy, you didn't let all these other women hurt you how many multiple times? And you did it so much so that you hurt your own best friend. And then they thought, oh, I thought you was there for you just like Nate. Exactly, because you are. That's the thing about people who want to claim they good guys, good guys, good guys, good guys. I'm a good guy, I can never get a good girl. You got a good girl, and what you did, you dogged her out for the bad girl. So what are you really talking about? Like, a lot of people want to be self-proclaimed good guys. I'm a self-proclaimed good girl. I stay in the house all the time. I don't go out. I treat ladies with respect. I do X, Y, and Z. And then you get a girl, a nice girl. You get a girl who actually cares about you. You get a girl who does X, Y, and Z. And what you do? Yeah, Lenny got a big booty or whatever, but Renee not ugly. Okay, both of them cute. None of them other girls do better than Renee. You living with Renee right now. Renee has extra bedrooms for you to stay in DC. She baller on the same level as all y'all guys. So it's like, I had already started just like in Braden, and this just sealed it for him, because I kind of saw it going this way too, of like, if he didn't outright pick her, then I knew. And when he brought Landy home, I was like, it's done. Because why would you, oh, she was supposed to be gone. It doesn't matter if she was going to be gone or not. Why would you do that, period? You didn't spend all this time pretending to not be Nate just to end up like Nate. At least Nate gonna say, I'm a dog. I'm telling y'all I'm a dog. This is what it is. The rest of y'all want to pretend like y'all not, but given the opportunity, just like what? Corey was given the opportunity to actually choose a black hardworking woman or a white woman who was not even experienced. What did you choose? The white woman. Just like given the opportunity between a good woman, because that's all you wanted was a chance with a good woman. Given the opportunity with a good woman, or a woman that does X, Y, and Z, that's this type of person that you don't like, to cheat on you, all this other type of stuff. What did you actually pick? What did you actually go with? Who was the one that you actually cared about? Oh, okay. Renee been down for you for how long? And how did you treat Renee? Where was the gifts for Renee? Where was the shopping for Renee? You didn't buy gifts. You didn't shop. You didn't do all of this for Trina. You didn't do all of this for Landy. Where is all of this stuff for Renee? Renee ain't even asked you for none of that. All she asked you to do was simple stuff. Care about her. Sit in the house, chilling, chit-chatting it up. That's it. But you didn't like that. And then you got stuck with Landy talking about, well, we didn't even talk about me moving in, but since she got me kicked out. No, she didn't get you kicked out. You got kicked out because you decided to be disrespectful. That's not Renee's best friend. That's not Renee's man. That's not none of that. Braden really showed his behind. I knew I wasn't going to end up liking him. He really showed his behind with that way. And he ended up being my least favorite person. And I think the author probably didn't like him, because why would you do that? Why else would he give him that ending?
All of this going on, he's between Renee and Lainey, right? Trina is also back in the picture.
How did him and Trina end up in Miami?
What happened was they went down there for a festival. It was them and they barber, and then Trina went down there with her girls. He was upset. He ain't sleep with nobody while he was down there. And Trina was there. And he was like, you know what? We both drunk. I'm gonna go with Trina. And he basically told Trina, we can work on it again. So now Trina, my man told me we can get it back together. I'm so excited. So now he running between all three of them. And this is before he slept with Lainey in Renee's house. Renee's out the picture now. She done took herself out the equation. So now it's between Trina and Lainey. But he done already told Lainey, you the one. He living with Lainey. But he's still talking to Trina.
Oh, Landy phone.
Still messing and talking with Trina. To the point that now Nate is proud of him.
Same with Corey. Like, if Nate got something to say to you, don't you think? But no, they never think.
And then there was a second thing, like how you said earlier, Brendan's women all had like this possessiveness about him and stuff like that. That included Renee.
Yes.
Why do you think she was so upset? She should be glad he don't sue her for wrongful eviction, to be honest.
She gave him back. I would say she gave him back all his stuff. Don't even do that.
You gotta like give them notice that you evicting them. She still had that possessiveness about him because she was like, no, this my man now. I done told him I love him. We've been sleeping together. We already living together. We already kicking it. I've been feeling him since high school. She's been feeling him. She also had that possessiveness about him.
I can see that. At first, I didn't see it, but I see that.
I would say what the difference is between her and Lainey and Trina is the fact that once they were done, she made the decision that they was done because she was hurt. Whereas Trina and Lainey, they hurt him, but they like, we can still try and come back in. It's not like they just coming back because they want to be with him. He's telling these girls, we can work it out. You still might got a chance. Renee is the only one who said, no, it's over. It's done.
And that's the thing. That's why I was saying he was getting on my nerves because it's like, oh, but you're such a good person. You're such a good person. You're such a good guy. I'm such a good guy. I get my heart broken so much. But this is what you're doing.
What ends up happening is Corey's mom ends up doing a 4th of July party. Corey has Nina. Nate pulls up with this girl he met in Miami, but he not feeling her. And Brendan, he has Lainey, right? So they over there having a good old time. Nina, she about to fall out, so she go lay down. So Corey goes up there to check on her. They end up sleeping together. And I was reading this, I was like, I would never in my mama's house. That is so disrespectful to my mama.
Especially during the cookout, like it's not even like, oh, it's nighttime, we laying down or something. People is walking around.
It's children there.
Child. And that's the time she want to give him some special news.
All of a sudden, we pregnant. Now we getting married. It's amazing. It's a wonderful thing. Nina, my lady, right? He goes back down to the party. The Sean Simmons video comes on. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, Nate, you was in the video? That's crazy. Mind you, he still ain't told people what went down with Celine. He just said that it just ended.
And India was too hard on him about a commitment, so that's why he stopped with her. DC ain't that big for you to convince me Nate don't got no representation. Maybe people don't know his face or something, maybe because it's the 90s, maybe it wasn't as much access, but you got a reputation. Not what you doing all of this.
Corey is getting transferred to New York for a little bit, right? So that's why he wants to go ahead and marry Nina. So basically, she's going to be alone for her pregnancy. They go out to a party. Now, this is after the whole Renee situation went down. Corey, he gets a little too drunk, so he goes off to the bathroom, and he hears somebody call his name. Guess who's standing at the bar? Shelly at the bar. She looking good. He's like, I got to tell her what's going on between me and Nina, because we finna get married. She pregnant.
And she was supposed to tell them.
Nina was like, let me tell her. But Nina taking too long. So they go back to his place, right? And before he can tell her what's going on, she tells him that her baby is his baby. And all he can think about is like, I missed out on 6 years of my daughter's life.
The reason they broke up is because they both applied for 2 different schools. And he didn't even attempt to apply to the school that she applied to. I think it was Ivy League or something like that. But he didn't think he was going to get in, so he didn't even attempt to apply to it. So that's why they broke up, because he was dead set on going to Atlanta. She was going to another school closer to DC. It made me so mad. And so she didn't tell him because she like, you know, you had your career, you dead set on going this place. He was like, oh, well, I need to do something. I could pay you back. I could pay him back. She's like, I have a master's degree and I'm a guidance counselor. I am good. Me and my daughter are good. Like, we don't need your money. I just didn't tell you because you wanted to do X, Y, and Z. Like, you wanted to go to school. He also ends up telling her about Nina. And she like, you don't want to be with no Nina. You want me. She was like, so you love Nina? He was like, yeah, I love Nina. So why you been looking at me like that? He was like, what? Like you been looking at me this whole time. So she said, you know what? I'm going to take off this shirt. She took off her shirt. He said, Well, what are you doing? She said, well, you really love Nina and you don't want me? I'll put the shirt right back on. That's what I thought.
Nate, he chilling with Kim, right? Kim thinking, oh, I got me a good man. He back. He is attempting to do right by Kim. Because the whole book, he been feeling bad about how he been treating her, but not too bad to not be treating her bad. So now he's like, you know what? I'm actually do right by Kim, right? Kim thinking he's good. He's treating her right. Got everybody thinking that he done changed just for him to get a call from Sean. I need you on 106 in Park. Well, I got something going on with my girl. You rather be with your girl than me at 106 in Park? I can show you a good time afterward. I'll be right there.
And all he had to do was tell Kim it's a job. Even if she made an argument about it, at least she would have known. And that's a believable lie. You're supposed to be a playboy. That should be a believable lie for you to just make up.
And it's not even a lie. It was the truth.
Yeah, it actually is the truth.
Which is crazy because what ends up happening is Kim needed him to go take her to the hospital. That's why he was like, I don't know, because I need to take her to the hospital. Come to find out, Kim got tumors, possibly got cancer. She can't get a hold of Nate. She see him on BET. She like, I'm over this. So she decides, I'm going to take myself out the game permanently. Meanwhile, Nate is up there turning up, having him a good old time at 106 in Park. Ends up out there in LA with Sean. He's out there for 3 days before he checks his messages. And he sees his inbox is like full. Everybody's like, dude, where are you at? Kim is dead. Like, she is gone. Like, what is going on? And he started listening to the messages, and then he gets to Kim messages. He basically has a whole panic attack. He's like, he can't believe that this done happened. And basically, Corey and Brendan is like, Nate, don't come back. Her family, they want all the smoke with you. Don't come back.
That's one of the reasons why I got a 3 for me, because I just feel like that ending for Nate, I would have rather known what happened to him when he got back to DC. That's what I would have preferred for the ending to be. I just feel like that wasn't enough. Like, I don't even feel like he would have taken it that hard. Like, I understand he got a panic attack and he can't believe this, but I don't think that's enough for me to believe Nate is going to be a changed man. I don't know. I would have preferred for him to find out once he got back or something. I guess it's worse because he got to live with it. But like I said, why she got to pass away? Why couldn't be something that happened to him? Like, I think I'd just be feeling bad for the girls because I really wish Kim didn't go out like that. I think that's what it is for me. I feel like if Kim would have cut him or something, but I guess the reason he did it this way is because it is always typical that something happens to the man. People don't really think cheating is that serious or actually how much it actually hurts or damages people, especially with a lot of men. A lot of men think that this is just a game for women. Like they feel like, oh, she's going to just be heartbroken. She's going to move on. It is what it is. I can keep doing this and that. But I feel like what happened to Kim kind of showed this actually hurts people. Not just hurt somebody so much that they want to hurt you or want to take you out, but hurt somebody so much that they don't want to be here no more. That's insane. That's like to his whatever 20, 30 years or whatever living that he had never experienced. It was different. I did not like it. I won't lie. But I get it.
Then we get down to the courthouse. And I just want to say, I don't know why he dragged this out. Because if you was paying attention, you knew who it was at the courthouse.
I did not. Because I was in denial.
I think it's because the way he was being so vague about it. I'm like, the only reason you would be being vague is if it's not Nina.
I was in denial. Because all the stuff that happened with Nina. And then also, I think because everything kind of lined up with the plans from before, it was like, okay, everything just lined up. So I'm just like reading along. Then I read daughter. What are we talking about right now? Because she should have still been pregnant. Like, who are we? And then when it was Shelly, I was like, let me go back. Because where did we get to Shelly? And why is this okay? I thought it would have been a Renee situation. Like, bro, I'm done with both of y'all. Apparently, she wasn't done getting her get back.
Remember, in that scene where she is telling him about her daughter, she said, I never stopped loving you. The first time I read this book, when it was revealed that Shelly was who he married and not Nina, I was mad. I was like, now we done spent this whole time, you done built this relationship with Nina. Why would you get back with Shelly? Like, come on now. Reading it the second time, knowing what's coming, and being able to see, like, all the foreshadowing, Shelly told Nina, he gonna dog you out. Corey said on multiple occasions, the shoe fits of me being a dog. I know who I love. And what really, really made it very clear that it was always gonna be Shelly, when he and Nina first met, he said that Nina reminded him of Shelly at the age when they were dating. He's like 28. 3 years ago, 25. How old is Nina? 25. It was always going to be Shelly. And it's like Shelly said, you only with her because I won't give you a chance. And as soon as she gave him a chance, what happened?
I thought it was a setup. See, Nina, I told you he was a dog. First chance I got to get back with him, he right back where I had him at. I will say, I definitely did not feel bad for Nina, and I definitely understood, especially by the end with Shelly. Like, at no point was I mad at Shelly. I was just surprised, like, that she would have married him. I was never mad at her for anything. I don't care what everybody else saying. Oh, well, it's been 5 years. This is not no game. This is not no little boy I talked to when I was 12 or 15. This is not no, oh, we only dated for 6 months. I was with this man for 3 years. Like he said, when she met me, she didn't know nothing. By the time she was done with me, she knew everything. No, like, this is not a game. And not only that, when Nina comes up there talking about, which I did feel bad about, but my miscarriage happens, I hadn't even miscarriage or whatever for like a month or whatever. Cause I'm like, what are you gonna do with 2 baby mamas from the same family? When she said that and all that type of stuff and y'all wrong, when Shelly said, but you knew he was the daddy. I didn't have no sympathy for you from the beginning, but any sympathy that may have been there is gone. You got with your sister's child's father. You knew that was the father of her child. And she was like, you didn't even tell him. She was like, okay, but you knew too, so why you ain't tell him? You ain't tell him because you did want him, because you did have a crush on him and you did want him. And now y'all got to see how your little fantasy played out. I think it's messy, to be honest. I just think it's a lot of mess. Like Nate said, I think it's giving skyscraper. Though as crazy as it sounds, I'm gonna be honest, I think Shelly and Corey have the relationship that's most likely to actually stand. Because it's like how you said, throughout this whole thing, he been comparing her to Shelly. He did not want to break up with Shelly. She broke up with him. Like this whole time, this is what he wanted. Now he know the child is his too. Because I also agree. I don't feel like he ever stopped loving her. And I think one of the biggest testaments to that is the type of dude that Corey seems to be. It didn't make sense for him to treat Nina the way that he treated her. Now, Paula made sense. The other girl made sense. But Nina, how you said, the girl he's serious about, the girl he keeps saying he want to be with, it just didn't make sense. And he also didn't seem like he actually liked her, to be honest. Like, when he was complaining about her crying broke, when he was talking about how she's childish and stuff like that, like he didn't actually seem like he actually liked her. She looked like my ex-girlfriend. She cooks, she cleans, she treat me well. That's it. I really don't like Corey. And I think that's another thing that I'm mad about, that Corey got the best ending. I really don't like him. Also, side note, Brendan got back with Trina. That's not gonna last. That's not gonna last.
We literally find out on the last page that Lainey lied about everything. And you know what? This made me mad because I was really rooting for Lainey. Kind of like the same way we was rooting for Nikki and Men Cry in the Dark. Like, yes, she made some mistakes, but she can come back. She can pull it together. I was rooting for her. So to find out that not only did she lie, the nephew that she's raising is actually her son that she lost custody of because she was abusing him. Her mom is not on drugs. Her mom is a nurse, and she's still stripping, and she was the thief. So Brendan is like, I'm gonna go be with Trina. She finally figured out she got a good man, so she gonna hold on to him.
And this is why I'm glad him and Renee didn't work out. I have never wanted to call somebody dumb so bad. You deserve everything that happens to you. Because I guarantee you this is a sequel. Trina then dogged him out. And Renee is happily married.
We went through all of this, and the men ended where they started. Corey started with Shelly. They broke up. How does Corey end? With Shelly. They married. Brendan started with Trina. She cheated on him. How does Brendan end? With Trina. Nate started alone, playing games. How does Nate end? On the run, because of his games.
It really is. Only thing is Nate is on the run now, but I like honest people. That's why I like Nate. I just like honest people. If in the second book I actually get to see Nate on the run, I think I would be satisfied. He hasn't paid for the repercussions. He hasn't had the repercussions for his actions. I need to see it. I can't just hear that he on the run. I need to see him starving. Okay. I already knew Lainey was a liar. I already knew that wasn't gonna work out. And I wanted him to be Renee, but I'm actually glad he's not with Renee because he would have just did what he just did, literally, and hurt her. After we didn't talk everything out, it might be a 4. It's definitely a 3, but it might be a 4. I like this book. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I thoroughly like this book. I've read quite a few books in the arena of Waiting to Exhale, of Friends and Lovers, of that arena. And I will say that this is the closest to a male version of Waiting to Exhale that I have ever read. This is not Waiting to Exhale at all. It's not. But I will agree that this is the closest thing to a male version of Waiting to Exhale that I have read. Me and him have read a few books together of Waiting to Exhale. Lover and Friends is not Waiting to Exhale to me. Man Crying in the Dark is definitely not Waiting to Exhale to me, okay? This is one of the few that has a male group of friends that talks about love. You get what I'm saying? Has different levels of relationships, and their friendship is really the basis of it. We only hear from the men. You hear from all three men. It's not like, oh, one person you hear from more than the other one. No, you hear from all three men. All three men do progress in their own way. The only person that stays the same is Robin. The only person. In both books, the Robin in both books start back where they finished from. But everybody else grew. Everybody else grew and, you know, experienced some things.
That's not who I expected you to say.
Because tell me, even when you said it, bro, tell me this does not, tell me Brayden does not give Robin vibes, bro. Tell me he does not give willfully ignorant. Like he gives.
It kind of do, but it kind of don't.
He's not as bad as her.
For right now, this is the end of the book portion of the video. Stay tuned, because we're going to talk about how Before I Let Go stacked up against the other two books in the category. So, thanks y'all for tuning in. Stay tuned.